Roaring 20s back again? Are we about to see the greatest boom in the history of the world? And if so, what follows next this time? You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. In today's video, we're going to break down what has happened here and what are some of the predictions for what's coming in 2024 and beyond. I want to get into all of that today and show you what people are experiencing right now. The high prices, the inflation, the shrinkflation, everything that's been going on. I'm going to break some of that down right here, right now. You are looking at the roaring 20s. At least that's what we are being told. You could see that it's coming through many indications. When you look at the stock market, hopefully not those big collars. I don't think that's too comfortable. But we have this. Are the roaring 20s actually back? So they're covering this. A bunch of people in here being quoted. One of those is Ed Yardeni. Now, Ed Yardeni is the type of guy who every time he's going to just lift his prediction. What is it tomorrow? It's 5,000. No, it's going to be 6,000. It's going to be 7,000. Okay, on and on and on. And so we take it with a grain of salt. But what he is talking about here is that AI, artificial intelligence, is going to reduce the cost of business, and this is going to be a big boom for, let's say, the next decade. So this is going to provide a fantastic outlook for the foreseeable future. Now, what he hasn't mentioned here, what others won't mention here, this is like a deflation, right? Suddenly the tasks that you do at work are not needed anymore. We've got robots, we've got AI, automation, doing all that stuff, doing all the, the turning the knobs and the flipping the burgers and the, checking people out at the cash, all these things. Well, what happens now? Well, you have a UBI that comes in to basically give everybody, let's say, $2,000. Okay, no more work. You could just do this stuff. $2,000. We don't need those type of tasks anymore. We've replaced them. So we have a UBI. But what happens here is that we have an inflationary effect of this. Because what happened in the previous circumstance where they gave out cash, we found that that directly supported the stock market. People went out, they spent a bunch of money. That creates inflation. Okay, that inflation, we're talking about price inflation. Let me be clear about that. I know people get a little upset about inflation. When I refer to that, I talk about the price inflation because that's what people experience. Look at what's happening though. Right now at this time, people, they are being absolutely squashed. They're being hammered. And artificial intelligence has not been there to help anybody out in this regard. There hasn't been robots that have come in, made people's jobs easier, and then somehow that translated into them making more money. That hasn't happened. We're being told that somehow it is. But who's going to actually do that? Oh, the government. The government's going to extend their hand. They're going to give you that $2,000. You are going to benefit from it. But are you employed? Does this mean that there's going to be mass unemployment? Higher permanent unemployment for the foreseeable future? What does that say about the economy? And can governments actually afford universal basic income? Could they just hand out cash to everybody and somehow everything's going to be okay? Well, depends who you ask. There's some other things in here where some would suggest that, look, what happened after the circumstance of 1929? Literally, weeks before the great crash began, everybody was saying things are all good. You had the famous quote about the permanently high plateau. It's never going to go down from this point. And then it was an 89% drop from the top. I mean, you couldn't be more wrong. The person saying that should have been, they should have put him in front of a group of people and said, look, people are literally investing. They are putting their life savings in. They are gambling based on what you're saying. And you were so wrong. And they are just, nothing happens. In fact, they write books. They go on the news, the talk shows, and they get more and more publicity. This reminds me a lot of what happens with Kathy Wood, and nothing against her personally. I'm sure she's a nice person. But what does it say? It's that people don't really want accurate information. They want what they want to hear. They'll hear what they want to hear. And that's it. But you came here for the truth. And that's what we're talking about today. Mortgage rates in the US fall to the lowest since May, dropping to 6.61%. This all depends on credit and so on. But here it is, looking at it from 8% down to 6.61%. The expectation is that will continue, along with, by the way, the dollar. Dollar compared to other currencies, the US dollar has been dropping, and the US dollar and the stock market happen to be certainly inversely correlated. So when we do see the dollar being super strong, the stock market can be weak. It depends on what's happening with those other currencies. There's a lot of factors there, but that is now in the opposite. Here, we see the dollar weakening, and we see the stock market doing very, very well. And what has happened with the currency overall, though? Like, we can measure it against the yen, we can measure it against the peso, but what about stuff? Well, when we measure it against new car prices, the dollar doesn't look so good. Here it is. Year after year after year, new car prices have been going wild. Is that because of these companies gouging their customers? To a certain degree, yeah, that's probably part of it. But it's everything. Everywhere and everything seemingly has risen for one reason or another. This is rice. Rice feeds the world. Everywhere you go, there's rice. Asia, there's rice. Latin America, I mean, everywhere. And it's such an important, crucial commodity for preventing poverty, keeping people out of poverty because it's cheap. But look what happened with India. India says, okay, we need to make sure that we can feed our own people. We're going to stop exports of certain types of rice. And what happened to the price? Obviously, it goes up. Demand goes up. People start going to Costco. People start going to the supermarkets. They're buying as much as they can. Well, now you can see the price hitting a level we have not seen in well over a decade. That's a big concern, because as we get into these moments here, you start to see civil unrest. And we don't want that. We want growth, we want prosperity, and yet that isn't the case. Worst of the cocoa rally is yet to come for chocolate makers. And that's why I showed you just recently why Chewy or Quaker dips, the chocolate-covered granola bars, they don't use chocolate. You heard me correct. Chocolate-covered granola bars contains no chocolate. What about the blueberry bagels at Costco that have no blueberry in it? I mean, what? Chocolate doesn't contain chocolate. Blueberry doesn't have blueberries in it. I don't know what's going on here. I mean, it's crazy. I'm saying it, but it's like, it's not like my brain isn't processing it. But anyway, that's what we're seeing here. That's what happens. Things get too expensive. They start taking out the ingredients. They start making them more expensive. People want the cheap. I want that all for cheap. I want it made in the same country I'm from. I want it local. Oh yeah, but I want it to be as cheap as possible. Those days are over. In fact, even overseas products are getting much more expensive. I hope people understand the level of inflation we are experiencing today will seem like the good old days in the coming years. And this is a warning to you. I hope you'll listen. Americans are dreading the holidays. 1 in 3 go in debt to pay for their holiday shopping. And I've seen countless examples, different surveys that show people carry debt from the previous Christmas into the next one. A whole year at 20, 25, 30% interest rate. Oh my goodness. The burden that is carried. I mean, you got to do you. But if that was me, I would be not purchasing the gifts. I would tell everybody and be honest with them. about the circumstance and do something else for them. Do something else for them. Say, look, I can't afford that, but I can certainly have this skill. I can do that. I can help you cook on that day. I can do whatever it is. My goodness, don't go into further debt. It is so dangerous at this time more than ever before. And this is just an unusual circumstance where you see In-N-Out Burger opening day in Idaho ends in chaos with an 8-hour line and customers fuming after they camped out for the night. So you could see it right here, looking at these people camping out in front, lining up like crazy. Now, I've never been to this place. I don't even think it exists where I am. But does this show us that people have a lot of disposable income? Or is it, hey, I'm going to get some really cheap burgers. We haven't got this before. And so it's an excuse, oh, I'll line up for a while, but I'll get cheap food. Or is it just, hype and so on, gets gone through social media and this and that? What do you think? What is this? Is it hype? Maybe. Certainly could be. Bot Built wants to lower the cost of home building with robots. It basically goes into the explanation of how it will do that in order to reduce the cost, the expense to build a home. This would allow people potentially to get their homes for cheaper. This is like a reduction in inflation. Will that happen? I really don't know, but there are a lot of different companies that are doing one way, shape, or form, figuring out how to do the tasks that people are doing right now, do them in a more efficient way, and make that process relatively simple. Are they able to? Not so sure, but I can tell you that sometimes the home builder quality not exactly good. So we can expect, hey, maybe the robots will do it better and they'll do it 24 hours a day. This is talking about going to the checkout line, and Walmart wants to, just like Costco, when you're leaving, they want to check your receipt. And basically they're saying in here many examples of people saying, no, 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 no. Partially I included this to just interject the fact that people right now, they are fed up with the self-checkouts. That's one thing, there's no question. But at the same time, what is going on with the consumer? And what are they doing right here? They are right now more than ever before in a circumstance where they need the budget. They've got to worry about their budget, their expenses, and they're worried and they're concerned. At the same time, these stores here, for one reason after another, will simply just shut down one after the other store. They will get rid of the human employees. They will go to that model where there's many stores that have operated like this. You talk to the one person at the front of the store. You order, probably online these days. You'll order online. You'll come to speak to the person at the front, and everything behind is locked up. Only that one person is able to access that for you. Here's what you ordered, and that's the end of that. This is what's coming. Theft, whether it's because one reason or another, they want to eliminate employees, they'll use the excuse as theft. This is coming. You have to understand. Higher prices, you get less value, cheaper stuff. It's happening today. If you want to stay ahead of the curve, you got to join one of my groups that I got going on. The Finance Friday, we learn about everything like how did I end up pinpointing the bottom of the stock market? The money mirror method. That's discussed every single Friday. What about Sunday? Why do I have that? Well, Sunday sessions is, some call it the Success Sundays, or we have Money GPS Business Live. I teach people how we're building businesses online so that, look, if your town starts going down the drain, you've got a way out. You've got to build an online business so that you can have customers anywhere you want, that you can have currency diversification and so many other things. That's what I talk about. If you're interested in any of those, there's a link at the top of the description. Read that entire page and click that apply button. You will basically be emailing me when you click that, and then we can converse between us and we can see if you're a good fit for that. Okay. So I want to thank you for being here today. Hit that thumbs up button on the way out. I do appreciate that very much. But don't forget to come in tomorrow because I've got some really good information about what's happening with the banks. I hope to see you there. Take care.